Hey yo paintballers, Hammerman here, and today we're going to talk about strategy. Now I should say before we begin that this is my own take on how to move up the field and engage enemies. It's based on my personal interests and experiences, and in no way is a reflection of any sort of training I've ever received. I hope it helps others to conceptualize the game in a different way, and through this I hope that players can improve their game with other players. In a paintball match, at any given point, when you see an enemy player, you essentially have four options. You can hold that bunker, snap shooting and engaging the enemy through that sort of maneuver. You can pull back, relocate to a bunker that's behind you in an effort to do a tactical retreat or a feigned retreat. You can flank the other player by coming at him from his blind side, or you can charge the player, stepping into his field of view and engaging him the entire time. So let's have a look. In this scenario, you encounter an enemy and both you and the enemy approach the most convenient bunker at the time. You'll trade paint with this player until you finally put him in, or as I'd like to say, button him up. That is to say that they're going to stay behind their bunker while you maintain fire superiority, or I should say, paint superiority. It's at this point that you may want to flank. While shooting, you would step out and use his bunker as his blind spot, known as shadow walking. Using this obstruction, you reposition and attack from the unguarded side. It's important to maintain paint superiority as to lessen the chance you're seen while maneuvering. Let's look at a real-world experience. Another option is to charge. After putting them behind their bunker with suppressive paint, you want to step out from behind your bunker on the side that gives you the widest angle of attack, and, while shooting, slice the pie while advancing. This maneuver would be comparable to the wrap-and-go strategy often seen in the Doritos of Speedball. So in other words, flanking and charging are almost the same maneuver. It all depends on the enemy's field of view. Flanking, you're staying outside of that field of view. Charging, you might have to step into that field of view. So those four maneuvers seem well and fine for solo play, but a big part about paintball is playing as a team. It all comes down to communication. If I were to look to real-world inspirations, a Marine has to worry about a lot more information than we do. In paintball, the most important thing you'll communicate is location. It seems to happen organically on the field and can sometimes include troop size. If the number of troops are not indicated, it's presumed to be one. Here are some excerpts from paintball gameplay.
One guy, right side on the top of the bridge.
Target is the double stacked water buckets.
Back slightly right, we got one. Right by the boat, on the right side of the boat. Got one at my mirror. There's two guys on the bridge.
Notice how each example clearly has a location, the green line, but may or may not have the number of enemies, the blue line. Since relaying the enemy location is the first priority, Your ability to communicate will improve as you become clear and concise. Always describe the enemy's bunker first, calling it by its name if it has one. That is, if it bears the name bank, call it the bank. If it is not written on the wall, describe it in its most simplest and obvious way. For instance, green shack or watchtower. If you're having a hard time describing the specific location, try describing the general area. Do this by referencing the enemy location with something within your field of view that is unique. Examples may include far side of the road, right side of the short bush, first tree beyond the clearing, the shady spot in the tall grass. Try to avoid describing the enemy location by your position, such as shack to my left or behind the tree at 2 o'clock. Unless you're sharing a bunker, your teammate will have a different vantage point and doesn't necessarily know what direction your nose is pointing in. An alternative to describing it would be to simply point in the direction of the enemy with your fingers or the muzzle of your marker. Now let's put it together and call the play with your battle buddy. You see an enemy in the distance and alert your partner. Far left corner, got one. Let's move up. The two of you advance to the next bunkers. You decide you'll flank while he charges, like a pincer maneuver. Now you could say that, but the enemy would be wise to your plan. It's up to you and your team to know the code words. You decide to call the play. Let's straight flush. Your teammate understands and responds. All straight, you flush. Ready. You start the play after you've buttoned him up.
I thought I got that when I got the mask. I see movement, but it could not be him.
Hey, see that directly at 12 o'clock.
Looking for a shot.
Roger. Taking fire!
Get creative, get tactical. Leave your comments down below. Do you agree, disagree, maybe want to add a contribution or tweak a theory? That's all for this time. Hammerman, logging off.